Ahsoka Tano has taught me why we have the Bechdel test. In case you're unaware, this is the feminine test to see whether or not a movie has proper representation, where a movie has to have at least 2 women in it, and they have to talk to each other about something other than a man. This, however, is not a test to see whether or not the movie has representation. This is a test to see whether or not the movie sucks. Because if it passes the Bechdel test, the movie sucks.
And unfortunately for us, this show passes in spades.
Oh god, that is some of the slowest television I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. Like, you watch it, like, it starts off with a little bit of slow action. Like, okay, with the 15-minute hook. Not the best, right, with the spaceship hijacking. But then nothing happens. Nothing happens. And if it does happen, it happens over the course of 40 minutes for any sort of plot to move.
Okay, so let's begin at the very start of all of this, shall we? So we've got Ray Stevenson, Titus Pullo. This show killed him. That's how bad it is.
He died of cringe.
he did indeed, and he is by far the best part of the show so far. Like, man, does he fit as a dark Jedi. Like, he looks great in this role.
Yeah, he actually does. He really does steal the way of the scenes.
He does. He bluffs his way onto a New Republic ship by going, "Hi, I'm your flagship," whilst flying a tiny little freighter.
Yeah.
And the captain of that ship is like, "Oh, I'm a clever clog, I am. I'll call his bluff. I'll take him aboard my ship, and then I'll confront him with 6 armed men, and he'll be like, 'I surrender, sir.'" But Titus Pullo doesn't surrender. Titus Pullo kills all of them, and takes over the ship.
Yeah, that was funny, because as we're watching this, we call the entire sequence of events in order. And then the show proceeds to do it. Captain smugly walks down to greet them and is like, "Ha, I caught you. I came down here so that you could strangle me yourself."
And strangle him, he does. They're also on the bridge. They're all shocked, like, "Oh my god, they took down half our security forces. Those 6 dudes were half of your security forces. Wow." Apparently, for how frequent boarding actions happen in Star Wars, I feel like they don't take them very seriously when they build up their anti-boarding parties.
You know, they used to have a lot of Marines on their ships and for boarding actions because it were actually quite common. But apparently, the New Republic has rescinded that policy due to budget cuts, I think. And they have like 12 dudes for security.
Apparently. So, Titus Pullo frees some woman who's a witch of Dathomir. And this is also where we get to one of the biggest complaints I have about modern Star Wars. Because when Star Wars first started, right, Anakin Skywalker was something special, you know? And Luke Skywalker was something special. It's about rising from nothing up to something. It is about unique and special exemplars in a galaxy that is huge and filled mostly with normal people. But now, everyone's a Mandalorian. Everyone's a Jedi. Everyone's a Witch of Dathomir. Everyone's a general. Everyone is somebody special. And it means that everybody's nobody.
Yep, that's the problem with the show. Every single character is somebody big. Like, we see a lot of characters from the Rebel show, the Rebel TV show, which I'm not personally a big fan of, but all of them have become somebody of great importance. They become either generals or they're becoming Padawans to become Jedi, and they so happen to be also Mandalorians because, you know, they just have all the check boxes. Every little special snowflake under the sun.
Indeed. And it also it introduces the CSI Miami problem, where the general goes to personally inspect a planet alone, which causes them to be able to escape with the big-ass engines thingy at the end of it. It's like, if you'd brought, you know, the police to do this, you could have prevented all of this. But no, you did it by yourself, you stupid.
I'm the general, and in Star Wars, generals lead by example, by going by themselves.
Anywho,
never taking command.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. So Ahsoka, our titular main character, finds a temple populated by twisty tops, which she turns the twisty tops, and that reveals one of the stones from the fifth element. Except, no, that's a plot point, you see. It's not actually one of the stones from the fifth element. That would be far too generic and copy-pasta. No. Instead, it's the orb map from
Treasure Planet.
There you go.
They literally just copy and pasted it. And it is!
It is.
It even has little spinny parts on it, and it even opens up a holographic map that projects, like, the MacGuffin of where they need to go. It is literally just a MacGuffin piece. The show starts off with the same problem that the third movie in the new Star Wars trilogy had, where it's like, I found a magic knife, and it so happens to be the key to the big plot point. So
it is unironically the map from Treasure Planet, like just straight up, and it leads to where Thrawn is located. Now, why the Witches of Dathomir decided to make a map to Thrawn thousands of years ago is anybody's guess, but they did, which is very convenient, everything considered.
They had to figure out where Thrawn was so that they could use him to help them somehow.
Somehow, indeed. See, the problem when you introduce a faction like the Witches of Dathomir who supposedly know and see everything is that if you're literally Tzeentch, why haven't you won already?
Yep.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
The Witches of Dathomir are just a big problem with the plot, because the whole thing about the Jedi is they have foresight. They have the ability to have some ideas on the path and flow of how ebb and flow of how things might be. And so they can kind of detect what might be. So they can sort of plot around it. The issue with them is that they simply just know.
They simply just know, apparently. Anywho, they need to rescue Thrawn, which was kind of the seeds sown in the Mandalorian, where they were like, Thrawn, he's somewhere, and he's gonna be like toots badass when he shows up. Despite the fact, of course, that the most brilliantly tactically gifted man in the entire galaxy, if not the universe, was previously defeated by a handful of teenagers. Details.
Yep, because in the previous Rebels TV show, in the Disney canon, Thrawn is beaten by the kids.
Yes.
And he's no longer the intimidating character he is in the books and the trilogy, because he's not the same character.
He's defeated by a gaggle of teenagers. One of which we're reintroduced to here, Sabine Wren, who has the exact same problem as Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano, in that they look like subpar cosplay. Like, unironically. It is simple to find with a Google search better cosplay of these characters. And that is a real issue. See, okay, this show, again, does one of the big problems with Star Wars, the latest installations, is frankly that the heroes are boring, uninteresting, generic garbage. Sabine Wren, strong female character. Ahsoka Tano, strong female character. And they spend most of the show standing near to each other, talking slowly, like, I don't know if I like you, but maybe we should like each other. I don't know. Are we friends? Can you be my master?
There's so much melodrama in this show that they spend the vast majority of it on the melodrama between these two characters than the galaxy threat of another galactic war.
You could leave the show for 10 minutes at a time and you would miss nothing of story importance.
Yep, I even went to go get a little bagel to eat, and I was watching it, and when I got back to my desk, nothing happened.
And it makes the Imperials look so much better by comparison. That's what, like, Titus Polo's character is great. He has so much gravitas. He's goddamn enormous on screen. He looks massive compared to everybody else. And he has this quiet confidence, this Qui-Gon Jinnedness of him. Like, even his apprentice, who seems heavily inspired, as Kyle pointed out, by Lana Beniko from the Old Republic, she's way more interesting. She's way more interesting. She feels intense on screen. And these aren't even Sith, these are Dark Jedi, because, again, everybody survived Order 66. Nobody actually died in that nonsense. And their motivations, okay, why are they doing this? For power. Okay, why did they turn? Why have they gone on this journey? Why have they allied with Witches of Dathomir? Why are they trying to liberate the Empire? Like, this is a much better story than Ahsoka finds a doodad in the dust somewhere.
Yep, or that Sabine has a troubled past with her former master, and they need to have some girl talk moments.
There's even, okay, so the map is unlocked by Sabine, who looks at it, and then she twisty tops it. Everything in this show is a goddamn minigame, by the way. Everything's a bloody minigame.
There's a hacking minigame even in it.
There is a hacking minigame. And everything's a twisty top. Everything's a twisty top.
Whoever wrote this really is like, what if the puzzle involved twisting?
It's so weird and so childish. It's like a 12-year-old's video game. But anyways, she unlocks the map, and she's immediately ambushed by the interesting characters, who steal the map and beat the shit out of Sabine. Sabine gets stabbed through the stomach by a lightsaber, but that's only, lethal to people who's named Kwai and gone. Everybody else is fine with that shit. It's not a problem. And they head off to a planet where they're building ships, where they used to be building ships for the Empire, but now they're totally building them for the Republic, except they're not, because it turns out, the common average working man is way more loyal to the Empire than they are to the Republic, which raises some interesting questions as well.
It's like, wow, they really are dedicated. Because you have a bunch of Imperial workers, or pro-Imperial workers, who decide to take up arms against the Jedi. Which is fascinating, because they're like, for the Empire! It's like, wow, that's brave. That's courageous. You're taking on literally a Jedi. It's the equivalent of a random bumfuck, peasant taking on a Sith, These guys have great powers and foresight and, masterful skills, and you just have a pistol. You're screwed.
And the show completely fails to explain why. So, you've got this guy, and he's sitting at his control station, they're interviewing the head CEO of building big boom-blast ships or something, right? And he's clearly seeing what's going on. He's nervous, and he's reaching for his weapon. And this guy, with the cry of "For the Empire," takes on a Jedi in close quarters combat with his goddamn sidearm, with his muff piece, essentially. And all the show goes is like, oh, wow, why are they so loyal to the Empire? And so it's not loyalty, it's greed. Random switchboard operator B is not doing this out of greed. His payday is going to be nothing.
Yep. That was what's funny, because the show set up something that it couldn't comprehend. What it demonstrated to us was that these people were loyal to the Empire and its ideals and values, so much so that they were willing to give their lives, if need be, to answer the call of duty. And so that's fascinating, because those characters and that moment where they're just killed quickly now feels like it's more impactful in a way the writers didn't intend for it to be.
Yes, because again, all of these shows fail to show how the New Republic is in any way better than the Empire. When the guys are being led away, it's the exact same police state. Like, the New Republic has nothing aspirational to it whatsoever anymore. It is not a beacon in the darkness. It's the same oppressive force using the same tactics, the same planets, the same people, the same ships, the same weapons, the same everything. And I get it. The New Republic is not supposed to be like this flawless beacon of light. It's supposed to have a struggled start, etc., all of that. Then it gets wiped out by the Death Star number 3 or something.
So none of it matters, which is great.
It's pointless. Like, all of the setup for the Star Wars movies, like defeating the Empire, it was pointless. It was actually pointless. You just replaced one oppressive galactic order with another oppressive galactic order.
We haven't actually improved anything. We're moving backwards.
Yes, like all of these movies have happened. All of this stuff has happened, and yet nothing has happened. And it's because the writers don't understand how to make compelling characters anymore. Like, the most compelling characters in this show are the villains.
Yep. There isn't a single good guy character in this show that I think anyone will find remotely interesting here.
There is not. Like, if you're a massive fan of Rebels, I can see you enjoying this, because it's basically just Rebels live action, in essence.
Yeah, fair enough.
it feels so underwhelming, and I pretty much knew this was what was going to happen when they were announcing an Ahsoka television series, because Ahsoka was always the child self-insert character in essence, and so they weren't going to be able to do much beyond that really here. But God, like, there's no substance here. Like, the only reason why this story... Put it like this, right? The only reason why this story exists, why this is happening, why Ahsoka is going on this adventure, isn't Ahsoka. It isn't Sabina Wren's adventure. It's Thrawn's adventure. This is only happening because of Thrawn. You know, the supposed bad guy. He's the only thing we actually care about here.
Yeah. And that's the worst part of it. I think the biggest thing we have to look forward to is we're going to see Thrawn, but we're also going to see how they're going to butcher him, and how he's going to become a 2-bit villain in his own story.
Yes, unironically, like you've managed to make the heroes, the heroic ideals, so uninteresting, so boring, so bland, so basic, as to make the villain superior in almost every way. And there's also Ezra, the Jedi guy. He's in this because there's one suspicious Sith who wears a full plate face covering, and Ezra is in the credits of the show, and you're like, yeah.
He's gonna be in there. They had him referenced before, but there's like a fully plated dude, and it's like, yep, that's about male height. Ezra probably.
Yep. And he never speaks, just to hammer that home as well.
It's all a plot. It's because he did say that he was going to work his way in there and figure out how to deal with it, and when the time comes that she need to come and help him, it's literally just Ezra infiltrating the bad guys and becoming the bad guys. They literally ripped that plot from like the original Star Wars, where Luke, turned to the dark side to figure out where the Emperor was to truly kill him, which was still a silly thing, but that happened. It's
silly. And it's gonna get sillier. Like, the most interesting part of this was literally the, almost cameos. Almost cameos. So you see, Career Sergeant Zim for a few moments.
Yep.
Oh, and it's like, I hate it so much, because I see Zim, and I'm just thinking, wow, what an actual, political masterpiece Starship Troopers turned out to be. Well, what an in-depth universe it created in a single movie, with almost no focus on the universe itself, created by a dude who had no idea what he was making, ended up being such an excellently developed universe, in combination with the books and the interpretation of the Terran Federation. And here you've got this guy, who had that role, who was a bit character in that, and here he is in Star Wars, an infinitely larger franchise, and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening in Star Wars. Everything is inconsequential. Nothing matters. The New Republic doesn't matter. This entire plot point doesn't matter. The entire reason we are here is to see the return of the villain.
Yup. That's modern Star Wars. Has been for a while now.
What else? Oh, the choreography is boring and slow.
It's painful to watch. They had no practice with the actual sword play, and when they're actually fighting, the camera shifts behind the characters frequently, so you don't get to see anything.
It's constant jump cuts, and it's because the characters are clearly just waving. All of the movements are slow. There's no speed or snap to it. You can also clearly tell when other characters are holding back when Ahsoka is fighting. There's one part where the droid who's supposed to be fighting Ahsoka together with Ezra, the droid just stops and just waits, because it's like, well, I can't hit her. She's busy.
I don't want to hurt her. Reminds me of that scene from Obi-Wan where they punched the fucking stormtrooper in the face and he falls over dead.
Then this is the issue too, when you have characters more like actors, who aren't physically capable of carrying out the strenuous nature of the role. Like, at one point, at the beginning of the fight, Ahsoka does this weird, spinny twirl, which achieves nothing. She jumps and she spins. That's it. Okay. You What? What was the point of this?
It wasn't the point. They just did it because it might look cool.
Again and again, the characters have these massive wind-up attacks where they need to like lift their weapon as if it's some heavy Zweihander or something for a two-handed blow. And it's like, this is not how it's supposed to work.
It's a lightsaber. It doesn't really weigh that much.
You know, and they don't give it weight either. See, one of the cool things with Darth Vader's fighting style is that it's just brutal. Like, he just uses it like a one-handed bat, and he's so goddamn strong, he just batters you aside. But that's a Vader thing. Like, everyone, it's supposed to be more flourishy, more dancey, more crazy, spinny nonsense.
Yeah, like Dooku, like a fencer.
Yes,
a
like exactly. And they're not physically capable of doing that. The show is uninspired.
Unfortunate. Yep.
Simply uninspired. And again, I will say again, if you are a huge fan of Rebels, then, well, this is, I guess, just more Rebels. But instead of having, 3D characters, you now have yet another black woman playing yet another tentacled Star Wars alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where this show just doesn't really bring it into the table. Neither narratively or action-wise.
And where it does bring something, like Titus Pullo's Dark Jedi, or the apparent fanatic loyalty of the Empire's not even soldiers or indoctrinated personnel, but random workers, it just kind of moves past it and hand waves it away like, oh, he was greedy. Ah, yes.
Oh, he was greedy. Oh, okay. So he threw his life away because, like, I want some credits. And that's why instead of saying, like, for money, he screams, for the Empire!
Switchboard operator B and C sacrifice their lives in combat with the Jedi because paycheck.
I really want those credits. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, no. This show is not doing well. The first 2 episodes are off to a abysmal start.
I'm just so slow. Like, and here's the thing, okay. There's ways to make just characters talking interesting. Like, the newsroom is a wonderful example of this. 98% of the newsroom is just characters talking. But this is not that. This is uninteresting characters I don't care about. Talking about things I don't care about. And then occasionally they go like, oh, Thrawn. And I perk up like, ooh, the villain? I'm interested again. And then he goes away again. Like, oh.
So let's talk about my melodramatic feelings about, well, does she want me back as my apprentice? And in the other perspective, I don't know if I can trust her. She's so immature. It's like, oh my, shut up, show. Show, please.
And then for a few minutes again, they tease me with Titus Pullo's like, oh, is Titus Pullo gonna do something? No.
He's gonna stand there for about 2 minutes, and then they're not gonna even use him hardly ever.
Nope. Ahsoka Tano. It's a show.
It's pain.
I don't know who the target audience is. Well, Rebels fans, I guess. That's about it.
Rebels fans, maybe young girls.
Yep.
With,
children, kids,
stuff.
Literally kids. It's not a show for people who like Star Wars. It's not a show for people who like good television either, for that matter. The future of Star Wars.